What's up guys, it's Nicole, also known as Nikki Vegan, and today I'm going to show you everything that I picked up at the store today, and I'm also going to share with you some easy recipes and meal ideas for how I use those things, and I hope that it gives you lots of good inspiration, and let's get started. One of the first things I picked up was this organic creamy cashew Fiesta dip. It's over by the Hummuses and it's so good. It's basically like a vegan nacho cheese spread that's made out of cashews and potatoes, and you can have it cold, kind of like a hummus that you would spread on crackers, or you can warm it up and have it melted over, nachos or in a burrito or in a, veggie bowl, and it's so good. You can also mix it with salsa to kind of make it like a cheese dip. I am obsessed with it. This was gone very quickly, so thank you to everyone who recommended this one. Next, I picked up a bag of organic white rice, and I love having this on hand, especially if I know that I'm going to be making my unfried rice as a meal prep option for the week. So for this, I just take some cooked rice and I'll add some shredded carrots and also some shredded cabbage. Already, this just becomes really fresh and colorful just by adding those two things. I also like to sneak in some extra veggies with some cauliflower rice, and then if I have any cooked veggies on hand, like some cooked mushrooms or something, I'll add that as well. I love just making the whole box of mushrooms every time I make them, just because it makes it a lot easier to throw them into soups and sauces and to dishes like this. So that's a little tip I have for you. And then I also added about a handful of green beans. You could also do asparagus. Mix that together, and then I'm going to make a sauce out of tahini, a bit of water, and then some tamari and rice wine vinegar. Then to take the edge off of the vinegar, I add just a tiny little bit of agave, and I add loads of flavor with some sriracha, which is going to give it kind of a garlickiness, a touch of sweetness, and a bit of heat. And I love making sauces in a container that has a lid, because all you have to do is put the lid on, shake it up, and it's good to go. And you can make this for one, or you could make a huge portion of this, and it's just as easy. So after I saute the rice with a bit of water just to soften the veggies, I'll go ahead and stir this sauce through. I'll top it with a bit of cilantro or fresh parsley and some sesame seeds, and voila, I have unfried rice. The next thing I picked up was also highly recommended, and it is this mushroom seasoning, and it's made with porcini mushrooms and a few other mushrooms with some spices, like earthy spices, and it has a little bit of salt too. And I haven't used it yet, so I will report back, but I've heard that it's really good on tofu, and I'm assuming it would be really good on like sauteed veggies as well. Then I picked up a couple of cans of coconut milk. I use this for all kinds of things, but mostly for my lentils. This is something I make probably once a month. It's such a great meal prep option, and to make it, I just saute a medium onion with 3 cloves of garlic. I add some curry powder, cumin, coriander, and ginger, and just a little bit of turmeric. And I love the way these spices, first of all, smell, but also make me feel. They're all very anti-inflammatory, they're anti-carcinogenic, so it feels really good to nourish your body with lots of great spices. And I add lots of flavor with a can of diced tomatoes, a cup of coconut milk, 2.5 cups of red lentils. Don't worry, this recipe is in the description box below, and some water. And then I just let that simmer. So it takes like 5-10 minutes to prep, and then it simmers for a while until it gets nice and thick, and this is ready to go. I like to add some fresh cilantro on top just to kind of brighten up the flavor, and sometimes I'll serve this with some lime wedges, again to brighten the flavor. And you can have this on its own. You can have this with baked potatoes or with rice or salad. Sometimes I'll even puree it with some baked sweet potato, and that way it's almost like a soup. I'll add a little bit of almond milk or whatever kind of coconut milk I have and make a pureed soup out of it. It's so versatile and so good. Next, I picked up a couple of packets of taco seasoning. I love this on roasted veggies, especially roasted potato wedges. And I also got a couple of these Go MacroBars. This is my favorite flavor, and I like to have these on days where I work as a snack like halfway through my shift, just because they're really quick and easy. I also picked up some nut butter. I always get organic when I can, and Trader Joe's has a really affordable one. The only ingredients, if you flip it over, should be nuts and or salt. Anything else like sugar or oil, I think is so unnecessary, and it actually doesn't even taste as good to me anymore. I've really gotten used to the organic kind, and one of my favorite ways to use peanut butter is actually to make these soba noodles. So first things first, I have a little hack for you, and this is something you can do anytime you're measuring out coconut milk from a can. Because if you've ever opened up a can of coconut milk, you'll find that the top is coconut cream and the bottom is coconut water, and that's kind of hard to measure out. So what I like to do is just open it up, pour it straight into a blender, blend for like 10 seconds, and then you have this really nice, smooth, evenly distributed coconut milk that is so much easier to measure. And I like to store the leftovers in a little container with a lid right in the refrigerator, and then when I go to use it again, I just give it a shake to mix it all together again, and then it's perfectly ready to go again. So that just makes things so much easier, and that's what I do anytime I'm using coconut milk. Now for the sauce, you're going to need 1 cup of natural peanut butter. I like to use creamy. Then we're going to do half of a cup of that coconut milk that we mixed from before, along with 2 tablespoons of low sodium soy sauce, 1 teaspoon of ground ginger, half of a teaspoon of garlic powder, 3 grinds of salt, a half a teaspoon of sesame oil. This is really an important ingredient because you get so much flavor bang for your buck. Then I'm going to add just a hint of spice with 6 dashes of cayenne pepper, 1 tablespoon of white vinegar, and then the juice from 2 limes. I like to use soba noodles in this dish, and my soba noodles are actually a blend of buckwheat and whole wheat flour, and buckwheat is really high in protein. So I know a lot of times people ask, where can you get protein on a vegan diet? And you can get it in all kinds of ways, including whole grains, and buckwheat is one of the highest in protein of the whole grains, but they just taste like noodles. So I love adding them in whenever I can. They're really hearty and really filling. So for the veggies, I'm gonna make some zucchini noodles, and I'm just gonna do this with a regular old kitchen vegetable peeler. You don't have to have fancy equipment to make veggie noodles. All you need is a clean zucchini, washed and dried, and a vegetable peeler. But you just want to go ahead and make these noodles. It's going to create these really nice ribbons, and I'm going to do the same thing with a carrot. Now, vegetable noodles are really popular, and you'll see, especially in a lot of raw vegan restaurants, that they'll do only 100% veggie noodles, and that's totally something you can do if you want. But I find that I get hungry pretty quickly if I only eat zoodles. So what I like to do is mix the zoodles and the carrot noodles with buckwheat pasta like this, and that way I kind of get half and half, and it makes a really nice filling dish that is a little bit more satiating than if you did only vegetables. Again, that's a personal preference, but this is the way I like to do it. Another key ingredient here is going to be scallion, and scallions can be a little bit tricky to chop. If you ever try to cut them, the layers kind of squish around a little bit and it can be hard to get all the way down. So something I like to do is actually just use some clean kitchen scissors and cut them just directly into the bowl. It's way faster, way easier, and I just think it's fun. I like to add a handful of chopped cilantro to this as well. It adds a nice freshness and another layer of flavor. And then it's time to just mix everything together with the sauce. My preference is when the noodles are still kind of warm. I like to eat this as a warm dish, but you can also eat it as a cold dish if you like. And then I like to finish it with some red pepper flakes, some sesame seeds for a nice little crunch, and some more scallions and lime wedges on the side, because adding more lime juice to this only adds more flavor as well. So as you can see, this is a really multi-layered dish, lots of flavor going on, and it's just comforting to have a warm, creamy bowl of pasta. Something new that I wanted to try was this carrot cake spread. I'm planning on putting about a teaspoon of this on top of my oatmeal in the morning. It looks and smells so good. I also picked up a bag of cauliflower rice. This is a staple in my freezer. Sometimes I'll use this as, part of the unfried rice that I make, and I always kind of throw it into veggie bowls or into soup. It's so quick and easy. And I also got some organic peas. I use this very similarly. I'll throw it into pretty much anything that I'm making. And then I picked up some quinoa. I really like that Trader Joe's has organic options that are really, really affordable, so I picked that up when I'm there. And then I also got this tempeh, and I'm kind of experimenting with different ways to make tempeh right now, but right now I'm kind of baking it with a sauce that has ketchup, some vegan Worcestershire sauce, and a tiny bit of maple. So far so good, but I'll share that recipe once I perfect it. But then I picked up this delicious buffalo hummus, and oh my gosh, this is so good, especially with veggies. It does have some spice to it, so if you like that, you'll really love this, and I thought it was great. Highly recommend. And I love that it's organic. Then I got some veggie broth. I feel like since it's been kind of chilly and rainy in LA, I've been making soup like crazy. One that I don't know if all of you guys have seen, because it's kind of an older recipe of mine, is this butternut squash soup. I'll put the recipe for it down below because it is so easy to make. And I make these herbed crispy potatoes that are kind of like croutons in the middle, and they're just really good with the soup. So like I said, that recipe will be down below. And this might be one of my favorite soups I've ever made. It's very simple to make, and the basis of it is going to be some carrots. You need roughly 2 cups of chopped carrots, which I found is usually about 5 small to medium carrots. You're also going to chop some onion, and you can chop both the onion and the carrots really roughly because this is going to be blended, so they don't have to be perfect and you don't have to chop anything for a super long time. Just throw them into the pan along with some crushed garlic cloves and some really thinly sliced ginger, and this is going to add so much flavor. Ginger and carrot together is a match made in heaven. And then I just saute this with a little bit of water for about 5 to 10 minutes until it's really soft and starts to be really fragrant as well. I'm going to add some flavor with some sea salt and ground coriander. Again, coriander, onions, garlic, ginger, carrots all work so well. And then I'm just going to do a good pinch of black pepper. You don't need too much because you are going to get a little bit of spice from the ginger. And then I just cover this and let it simmer until all the veggies are soft for just a few more minutes. Then I like to take the heat down all the way to 0 and add some coconut milk. I like to use the carton variety rather than the canned variety for this just because it's a little bit lighter. And this one from So Delicious is great because it's unsweetened and it's organic. So if you can find it, I highly recommend it. Add 1 cup into the pot. I love that everything just goes straight into the pot for this recipe. Super easy. And we're also going to add 1 cup of vegetable broth. And again, this one from Pacific I really like. It's organic and it's low sodium, and I think it has a nice flavor. So if you can find it, I feel like it's pretty widely available. Go ahead and get that one. And then we're going to deepen up the flavor a bit with a teaspoon of tamari. I'm going to add a little bit of zing with some apple cider vinegar, and then kind of balance everything out with a bit of maple syrup. Then we're going to make it really nice and creamy by adding 1/4 cup of almond butter, which sounds kind of like a random thing to do, but I'm telling you, it makes this so creamy and gives it the most delicious flavor. So I'm going to blend that up, and what you get is this incredibly creamy, really wholesome, nourishing soup. I feel like the flavors here just really jump out at you and make you feel really bright and refreshed. I like to top this with a little bit of cilantro and just a few red pepper flakes, and I think it looks really pretty. It feels really good and nourishing when you eat it, and it's like decadent, even though it was so easy. I love it. Then I got some bananas. I usually get 2 bunches at a time because I like to get them, nice and spotty, nice and ripe before I freeze them for smoothies, or I will put them in my oatmeal or mash them in my blueberry crumble, or I'll make this sandwich. So instead of just putting regular old peanut butter or almond butter on the sandwich, we're going to make a really cool custom spread. So what you're going to need is a heaping tablespoon of either peanut butter or almond butter. I'm going to go ahead and add some extra flavor by adding some dried blueberries. I like to do a combo of the dried fruit, which is nice and tart and a little bit crispy, and then also a little bit of raisins. I do about a tablespoon. You can totally add chocolate chips, cacao nibs, coconut flakes. I mean, literally anything you want. Hemp seeds are great. I love to do a sprinkle of cinnamon, and sometimes I'll even do a little dash of maple syrup or a couple of drops of vanilla extract. All of that is really good. You can really customize this and make it delicious. And then you're just going to mix that all together until it's well combined, and we're going to spread this onto a couple of pieces of vegan bread. You can use whatever kind of sandwich bread you like. I quite like this one because I keep it in the freezer. Did I say I quite like? Who am I? So you're just going to go ahead and put a thick layer of your almond butter mixture on 1 piece of the bread. I like to go ahead and toast the bread slightly because I find that it holds up really nicely in a lunchbox. I don't do it so that it's hard and crunchy, but just so that it has a little bit extra firmness to it. I find that that's really good when traveling. Then I'm going to put some bananas, and then this is a peanut butter cinnamon granola that is so delicious. You could do chocolate chips here, cacao nibs, hemp seeds. I mean, there's so many different options. You could do some crushed peanuts if you wanted, or some other dried fruits. Dates are so good in these sandwiches. So as you can see, the possibilities are really endless. And then instead of jelly on the other side, I'm going to do this cool trick, which is where you take some fresh raspberries and a drizzle of maple syrup, and I'm just going to mash that directly onto the bread. This is so good and so fresh because it's kind of like a jelly, but it's a little bit more tart and it's a little bit juicier, so it really helps keep the sandwich really nice and stuck together and adds just a really delicious bright flavor. This combination of the tart fresh berries with the crispy dried berries, and then the sweet chewy raisins with the cinnamon and the banana. Oh my gosh, so delicious and so like nostalgic, but also different and new, which I love. Then I got this Ezekiel bread. This is also a staple in my freezer. I always have this kind of just frozen, and then I'll toast it up as I need it. I just feel like it has really good ingredients, and this plus a piece of vegan cheese is kind of my perfect snack in the middle of the day when I'm busy. And I also got a couple of cans of organic black beans. I used these when I made the black bean stew that I showed in a recent What I Ate Today video, and I love this. You can also mix black beans with a couple tablespoons of salsa and some salt and pepper, blend it up, and have it as a hot or cold bean dip, which is so great. And then you may know that Trader Joe's is pretty famous for this eggplant hummus, but you might not know that I recreated this. I made an at-home version. It took me so long to nail this recipe and to get it perfect, but I finally did. So I'll make sure that that is in the description box below for those of you who want to try it. So one of my favorite podcasts is called Talking Taste Buds, and on that show, she always asks her guests what their kitchen essentials are, like the 3 items that they just need to have on hand, and it just makes them feel good and comforted when they know that that's like in the cupboard and waiting for them. So I want to know the same from you guys. What are the things that you always have to have on hand that you always pick up from the grocery store? For me, it's nut butter and of course oats and probably cinnamon. So basically anytime I'm able to make a bowl of oatmeal, I'll be happy. But I want to know what yours are, or I want to know what your favorite treat to get at the grocery store is. So anytime I'm at the grocery store, I like to pick up a little bit something special, like a bar of chocolate or just something new that I haven't tried before, just as like a little weekly treat. So I would love to know what yours is in the comments below. And if you want some more grocery haul inspiration, I put a playlist of all of my past grocery hauls in the description box below. So check that out, and I will see you guys in a video very soon. Bye.
And I think to myself, what a wonderful world.